Today, I'll reveal these levels that every top student uses. And by the end, you'll know exactly how to think like the top 5%. Did I say 5%? The top 1%. I'm sure you have seen those annoying puzzle ads everywhere. They mess up the steps and do it really wrong. It makes your skin crawl and you download the game. You want to reach the same level as shown in the ad and you want to prove yourself that you're better than them. So, what makes us think like that? Or have you ever thought how you think? Well, let me crack your mind and extract how you think. Most people always do the level 1 of thinking, which is they just skim the surface information or the surface level. But what if I told you there are 2 more levels? Each one unlocking a new way to tackle problems, work smarter, study smarter, and even improve your life. Also, I will give you a free sample of checklist. This checklist will pretty much solve all your problems. I'm Sinhe Bangambam. I'm a student just like you, learning how to master my mind and studies. This is just what I do. It works for me. It might work for you also. So, the 3 levels. I simply categorize as level 1 is surface or autopilot. And level 2, deeper or focus analysis. And number 3 is reflective or meta thinking. And honestly, no one taught me this. These are things I picked up on my own. I did not get it from a book, but I've changed the way I study, solve problems, and even how I make decisions. Trust me, by the end, you'll find out why these 3 levels are game changers. The first level is what I call as surface thinking. So, there was this time when I just skimmed through my notes one night before the exam, and I thought I got it. And I sat there in the exam hall, I blanked out. I could not write much, I just wrote a few points, that was it. And that's when I realized I was stuck at level 1 of thinking, which is a surface level of thinking. This is the autopilot of thinking. It's fast, quick, easy, and it actually gets the basics done. Picture this. You're reading a book, you're reading a topic, or you're reading a lesson, but you're really just trying to finish it. You get the basic ideas and information done, but not the depth. And here's the problem. If we only think at this level, we miss out so much. But what if we go a level deeper? That's where real understanding starts. Now, level 2 is deeper thinking, or what I call it as focus analysis. See, there was a time when I was doing my genetic studies for plants, and I remember struggling with my genetics. So instead of just memorizing, I started to ask questions like why and how. Why does this specific gene work this specific way with specific pathways? Or why does the same thing behave differently in another environment? And how does it affect the outcome? It was frustrating at first, but this deeper level of thinking helped me understand instead of just memorizing the facts. You're not just reading or writing or just listening. You're starting to ask questions, you're making connections of things you have learned, and really getting into the material. It's like switching from watching football highlights to actually analyzing the full game. But there's one more level that ties the 2 together. And this is where real power comes in. Here's a quick trick. At the end of every study session, take 2 minutes to do a self-review. But more on that later after we go into level 3. So, the 3rd level of thinking is what I call as reflective thinking or meta thinking. Branch of genetics known as metagenomics, so I got my inspiration from that. I remember during a rough study period of mine, I started looking back at methods, what worked for me and what did not work for me. By doing this reflection, I realized that cramming the night before the exam did not work as effective as I thought it would. And reflecting on this helped me create a new study routine, and I approach a little differently now. For example, so I make my notes prior, I study beforehand, and just one day before the night, I just revise. So this level is about looking back and asking, what did I learn here? How could I have done to approach this better next time if I did the same thing again? So this is more like thinking about your thinking. And here's a secret. Combine all these 3 levels and you can make even the toughest material feel manageable. This is working flawlessly for me right now. It might even work for you. And remember, the real power lies not in just following someone that says something on the internet, but more about finding your own thing that works for you. If you have something that works for you, don't change. So let's talk about the mini self-review checklist. So the quick trick is, after the end of every study session, or after you study a topic or a chapter, take 2 minutes or 1 minute to do a self-review and write down 1 surface fact, 1 deep insight, and 3, how would you have done differently if you want it to be done quicker? And what this quick review does is that It locks in what you've learned and it helps you connect things better. And it primes your brain to get better at what you do. Remember, mastering these 3 levels is not just about being a perfect thinker. It's about coming up with your own way to think differently with something that works for you. Start small, maybe try it in your next study session, and see if you have any differences.